Here are your lesson 2 notes. Solving one-step equations. Okay, so special rules that you might have here. When you divide by a negative, you have to flip the sign. So for example, if you had negative 3x is greater than 12, well, what you're really going to have is x is less than negative 4 when you flip it to the other side. So you have to change the sign. Multiplying by a negative, you're also going to flip the sign. Okay, so here, if you had x over negative 2 is greater than 5, your answer to that would be that x is less than negative 10, because you have to flip the sign. An instance that you don't have is if you had 3x is greater than negative 12. This negative sign doesn't matter because we're not dividing by the negative. So this answer would be x is still greater than negative 4. Okay, so don't flip the sign on this. So don't flip that sign. Addition or subtraction by a negative, keep the sign the same. And then getting x on the left is the most important part. So if you ended up with something that said negative 3 is greater than x. Okay, well, I'm going to flip that around so the x is on the left. So when I write that, okay, I flip my numbers around, and then I say, okay, the 2 dots were closest to the negative 3, so the 2 dots are still going to be closest to the negative 3 here. Because if you read it from the other direction, it says x is less than negative 3. So one more example of how that should look is if you had negative 5 is greater than or equal to x. You're going to flip that around to make it x is less than or equal to negative 5. Because when we start graphing these in the next lessons, you're going to always want your x to be on the left-hand side. Okay, so describe in words how you want to do this. So on this first one, I'm going to add 2. So when I do that, I'll go ahead and move this outside a little bit so I can keep it in line. Add 2 to both sides. So I get x is greater than or equal to negative 3. So that's my answer to this. My next one, okay, here's what's important. I'm dividing by a negative. Divide by negative 12. So I need to flip the sign because I'm dividing by the negative 12. So not only are we flipping the sign, but we're also getting a fraction answer. So I have x is greater than or equal to negative 3 over 12. Negative 3 over 12 can be reduced. They're both divisible by 3, so I get negative 1 over 4. So I flip the sign and I reduce my fraction. Number 3, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract the 16 to the other side, which is going to give me negative 8 is less than x, and then I'm going to get x on the left. So when I do that, I'm flip-flopping the 2, and I say, okay, the 2 dots were facing the x, so the 2 dots are going to continue to face the x, so it's really saying that x is greater than negative 8. Number 4, on this one, I'm going to multiply. So multiply by 4 to both sides. So then I get that negative 24 is greater than x. Then I'm going to get x on the left. So when I do that, I flip-flop the 2, and I say, okay, the 2 dots were facing the 24. The 2 dots are still going to face the 24, and it says x is less than negative 24. Maybe we need to write that out too. Less than negative 24. Okay, number 15. First thing I want to do is add 9. When I do that, I'm going to get 23 is greater than or equal to x. Then I want x on the left. So then I get x and 23. The 2 dots were facing the 23, so they're going to continue to face the 23. So x is less than or equal, because that's what that line underneath means, to 23. All right, so then our last one here, we want to divide by 6. Okay, so we get x is less than or equal to negative 2, 6, and then we want to reduce. So when we reduce, we get x is less than negative 1/3 as our answer. Less than or equal to. Less than or equal to negative 1/3. And that's it.